Damian Wayne has decided that he's going to become the newest Batman by force in Batman vs. Robin. So that you know where we are in the storyline, this takes place after World's Finest issues 1 through 5 and after the entire Tom King Batman run. The important things to note right now is that there's a magical villain out there and that Alfred is currently dead. This storyline takes place over 4 issues and sets up the events of Lazarus Planet. So I wanted to get it out to you as quickly as possible. This is the Comicstorian channel, where I take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues. I break them down into an audio drama, which allows you to understand what is going on in the world of comics and what you should be adding to your collection. At least I hope that's what you're doing with it. Anyway, let's get into Batman vs. Robin, issue number 1. Lightning cracks over Wayne Manor, illuminating someone walking up the drive. Inside, Bruce Wayne looks around at all of the old photos, memories swirling in his mind. He has no idea what force pulled him to his old home. There's a knock at the door, and Bruce opens it, his eyes widening in shock at the sight of Alfred standing before him. "Master Bruce, is it really you?" Alfred asks. Alfred pushes inside as Bruce stares at him. "Whoever you are, this is an unforgivably poor taste. Alfred Pennyworth is dead," Bruce says, but Alfred turns on him, warning him about Bane and Thomas Wayne, what they have planned. Bruce looks at Alfred in shock, knowing that this would have been Alfred's last memories before he died. He puts a hand on his old friend, his old father figure, questioning how he could have possibly gotten here and be alive. Alfred doesn't know, so the two head into the kitchen to have some of Alfred's favorite tea. The next hour, Bruce is questioning Alfred, asking him things that only the real Alfred would know. They both finally agree to head down into the cave and give the man a full medical exam. Bruce watches as Alfred goes straight to the grandfather clock, putting in the time of his parents' death. And they head down. It's at that moment that Bruce turns the power on to the Batcave. "Well, well, look what the Bat dragged in," Damian says from his spot on the giant penny, flanked by Tim Hunter and Jakeem Thunder. Bruce whispers over his shoulder to Alfred. "He hasn't seen you yet. Hide," he tells Alfred, and Bruce doesn't hesitate, walking forward. "Took you long enough. I thought you'd never come down," Damian says with a smile as he stands. He turns to Hunter, ordering him to attack, but Bruce leaps out of the way as the magical energy explodes around him, ripping through the cave. As the smoke clears, Damian turns to his friends. "He got clear! Find him and bring him to me!" Damian snaps, but a voice calls out of the shadows as Batman steps out of the smoke. "I give the orders here, Damian, not you. This is still my house," he growls, throwing a batarang, but Damian leaps out of the way. "Ha! Batarang snare, your go-to. You insult me!" Hunter fires another blast, but Batman dodges it, slipping into the shadows. The young wizard steps forward, looking for the bat, but Batman is behind him, knocking him unconscious, snapping the screwdriver that he was using as a wand. He turns as he hears Damian's voice. "This is a declaration of war, Father. I've grown exhausted waiting for you to leave your mantle to its rightful owner." "Me!" Damian shouts. Batman turns as Thunder steps forward, calling forth the genie that does what he commands. He brings the T-Rex to life, riding atop it as it roars and rushes at him, but Batman leaps out of the way of its stamping feet. "Damian, whatever's speaking through you, stop this right now! You're putting these boys into danger!" Batman shouts, leaping out of the way as several attacks come from the T-Rex, throwing a smoke bomb into the air, knocking Thunder out. Batman keeps moving, but something grabs him from behind, throwing him to the ground. He looks up in shock as several of the old Robin and Batman costumes have come back to life and have begun to attack him. "It's time to put you out of my misery, detective. I've grown to hate you as you hate me. You left me on my own, rejected me. Why? Because I have Al Ghul blood running through my veins?" Damian says as he leaps down, watching his father be beaten by his own suits. "Is it because you blame me for Alfred's death?" Damian asks, but he turns as someone steps out of the shadows. "That isn't true. There's no need for blame at all, Master Damian. I beg you to come to your senses," Alfred says quietly. Batman continues to fight, using a torch to burn the costumes, but Alfred steps forward, offering Damian a hug. Robin moves towards him, but blades suddenly snap out of his gloves. "I don't know what to say other than I'm not falling for it." He moves into attack, but Batman is there, knocking him away. "Damn it, Damian!" He grabs Alfred, pulling him out of the mix, and they move through the darkness of the cave with Robin following him, Tim Hunter at his side. Run all you like, father! I will find you! Damian shouts into the shadows, and they keep moving, with Tim firing magical blasts at them. Batman and Alfred finally come to a cliff, unable to continue forward. They turn, seeing Damian and Tim Hunter there right behind them. I thought we could get past our disagreements, father, to find some way to be the son that you wanted. But I found something from your own past that finally opened up my eyes, Damian says, pulling out a gun and aiming it at Batman's chest. My parting gift, father. Closure. Your life ends as it began. I only wish that you were wearing pearls, Damian says, and Batman moves to protect Alfred as the gun goes off, the rounds ripping through Bruce's chest. They both tumble off into the darkness, with Damian staring into the pit below them. Farewell, father. But Damian is unaware that Batman has grasped a hidden ladder. Shortly after, the Batboat pulls away into the harbor, with Bruce explaining to Alfred that he had to upgrade the body armor, and that he managed to see the long-forgotten ladder as they began to fall. Bruce explains to Alfred that they have to find somewhere to keep him safe while he tries to figure out what's going on. It doesn't matter, he's my family too, Alfred tells him, refusing to be kept safe. Bruce stares at him for a moment before embarrassing him in a hug. I miss you, old friend, Bruce says gently. Meanwhile, Damian is returned to the Tower of Fate, snapping his fingers, and Tim and Jakeem fall to the ground. I regret to inform you that the detective lives. You failed. Don't give me children next time, then. The voice nods, offering Damian a magical, powerful item for him to use in his war. Meanwhile, over on the docks, Batman has taken stock of what items he has, aware that he is underprepared for this fight, knowing that the Bat family comms are probably compromised. But he does have one item that they can use, a magical key that Zatanna gave him a long time ago. This will allow him to travel to her house through any door. And as we're obviously facing a magical threat, she's my go-to expert, he tells Alfred as they step through the door, but the house is empty. He pushes through into her study, where he finds Zatanna floating in the air, strangled by a noose. Hello, Bruce, she whispers in a strange voice, and he begins to reach for her as she explains that she has been caught in Schrodinger's noose. I am both alive and dead, for now, she whispers. The one punishing us is intent on making us suffer. She warns him, telling him that the various members of the Justice League Dark have been caught in several curses, taking them out of the equation. This must be stopped. Something in the ether is terribly wrong, Bruce, and it's Damian's doing. But Batman doesn't understand, questioning how Damian could have done all of this. I don't know, but you have to find out quickly, because death is not off the table for any of us. Use the key. It will take you to a secluded place new to you, the place that keeps all of the secrets. There you may learn exactly what Damian did. Batman nods, putting the key into another lock and opening the door into a white room. At the Tower of Fate, Damian throws aside the magical weapons around him. These are trinkets, playthings. If I'm going to topple Batman, I require greater resources. You owe me that much. How else but through me would Mother's soul have met the devil Nezha? Damian asks, and he looks up at the demon flanked by his great-grandmother. In the middle of the Kentucky field, Felix Faust stares at his hands, stating that he did this to them, in the past, to dominate, to punish. But why? Why is this happening again? As he stares at his hands, he sees the miniature puppets of the Justice League on his fingertips. But this time, they're fighting back. They pinch and pull and choke their way across his body. But before he could be lost, Batman grabs him from behind, telling him to stop. His magic is going haywire. You aren't the only one. Focus! Slowly, Batman begins to tighten his grip, the small fingers beginning to shrink down until there's nothing left. But before passing out, Faust says, the devil. Batman lets go, setting him down. That was the last of the sedatives. That should take him out of play, at least for now. As Batman stares, Alfred looks off, asking, what is that? What is happening to the ground? Seconds later, the ground begins to crack and split as a house begins to rise out of the opening. Batman says that maybe we don't have to go towards the magic. Maybe the magic will come to us. Alfred looks at all of the tombstones, asking, what is this? Where are we? Batman tells him that he doesn't know either, but this is where Zatanna sent them. If we're going to have any chance of stopping Damian's rampage, We need to investigate. The two of them walk up, and a man is waiting for them who says, Batman, what do we owe your presence on this cold and dreary night? Batman looks around. What do you mean, we? The man says, the house, of course. And he, the caretaker, his name is Abel. As Batman and Alfred enter the dark and decrepit home, Alfred says, there isn't much to speak of, is there? And Abel turns back. Shh! Don't let the house hear you. It welcomes company, particularly people with questions, but proceed with caution. Everyone who enters the House of Secrets eventually learns something they do not wish to know. But before Batman can ask his first question, Abel disappears, and he and Alfred wander into a dark room. As they step in, they feel the ground disappear and they begin to fall, but safely land as images begin to appear around them. As the images take shape, they see that it was Damian in his fight against the Lazarus demon when he fought on Lazarus Island that caused this. But Batman can also see the woman orchestrating it all. But as to who Mother Soul is, Batman doesn't know. As Damian and his friends won over the demon, Mother Soul asks if they have any idea what they've done. You've killed him! You've ruined everything! Damian tells her no, railing and raving about genocide. She is worse than her son. Flatline asks, son? Who is she then? And Damian says that her name is not Mother Soul. It's Rul Al Ghul, soul of the demon. She is Ra's al Ghul's mother. But soon the apparitions fade away and Batman and Alfred leave the room to find a man with bloody hands awaiting them. Batman asks who is he, and the man says that his name is Cain, of course. And Batman asks where's Abel? Cain responds, that simpering little milquetoast? Why, Batty, it's a tale as old as man. No, you're in my house and I'm taking over as your tour guide. The door opens up and Cain asks what lies behind door number 2. It's a mystery! As they step in, Batman and Alfred are seated to a play where Mother Soul takes center stage. She holds the head of her defeated demon, stating that he was the embodiment of Lazarus magic, that this demon was untouchable, unbeatable, and thus bitterly disappointing. She has been on this island for a long, long time, and she knows the Lazarus resin better than any other. Its properties, its history, how it was refined from a Chinese elixir of resurrection and immortality a millennia ago, from the blood and tears of a grieving father. Alfred whispers, asking, did you know the Lazarus pits had an origin? And Batman responds to him, I know now. As something rises out of the pit, Mother Soul says that she witnessed this demon that yet lives be trapped, imprisoned beneath her very feet. The blood connection between the resin and the demon may be powerful enough to force his release, but someone will have to wield the key. Damian, intent on exploring the island, he shall be the one to do this. Batman stares at the demon. There has to be more pieces to this puzzle. Something about this place is clouding my memories. What am I missing? But before he could think any longer, the entire room begins to melt away until he and Alfred suddenly find themselves in the main hallway again. I'm tired of your games! I'm sick to death of playing defense! We're gonna find out what Mother Soul did to my son if I have to burn this place to the ground. As Batman throws a batarang, it wraps around a woman and he asks, who is she? Lilith? Eve? And the woman says, how dare you? Eve's an absolute hag. No, my name is Cynthia. How are you? Bewitched, I'm sure. She laughs, telling him that his time here is running out and they are fast approaching the witching hour. But soon Cynthia begins to transform into Talia al Ghul. You're not her. Are you certain? Reality is shifting before you, is it not? Would you like to know the final truth about your son's sudden transformation? Come closer. As Cynthia attacks, Batman catches it, stating that Talia smells of jasmine and rose of Taif. You do not. Fine, steal my fun. Just watch and learn. At that moment, a trapdoor opens up as Batman and Alfred fall through it, but as they look, they see Damian holding the key that Mother Soul was referring to. As Damian gets closer to the tomb, Batman stares. Oh God, I remember this was his tomb. Damian, no! Damian is holding up this key to unlock the sealed stone doors, and as they explode open, there stands Nezha. I remember now. Years ago, Superman and I stopped him by the skin of our teeth, and we buried him here. Alfred asks, who is he? Who did you bury here? the deadliest magical warrior who ever lived, thousands of years old, capable of enslaving the world. He calls himself Devil Nezha. Nezha leans forward, stating that he can sense the fear in him, the child of his jailer, the son of the Batman. How perfect. There could not be a more fitting weapon to use against Batman. No more appropriate tool of revenge. Family is the nexus of all hatred. Batman kneels down, stating that that's what happened. Nezha possessed Damian, and Alfred says that there must be some way to free the boy. Damian looks up and smiles. Not really. And he blasts the two of them back into the house. As Batman gets up, he sees Damian controlling the tour guides like puppets, stating that story time is over, father. Then again, my whole life is a story about a lonely, wounded boy so desperate for companionship that he invites other children into his trauma. Damian releases the puppets and begins to set the house on fire. Every story has an ending, father! And the fire, don't look at me. You're the one who said that you wanted the house ablaze. So do us both a favor and just lie down and die. Of course, Batman does the exact opposite, and he begins to race out of the burning house. But back with Damian, Mother Soul asks if he left him to perish. And Damian says, I left Batman in a burning mansion. It's like trying to catch a rhinoceros with a butterfly net. I've achieved my goal. I've rattled his spirit. I delivered my message. I know my father. I know the next move. Even though he's acutely aware that he's being baited into a trap, it won't stop him. His greatest and more exploitable confidence in his ability to improvise under any circumstance. Mother Soul says that that is an ability unchallenged, only because he has not yet met the foe that can outthink him, and as such, she has a gift for him. Damian takes the clothing and begins to put it on, and as he steps into the light, he reveals it to be a new Batman suit. Damian looks at himself. It's exquisite, but does it come with accessories? She tells him absolutely. What is Batman without Robins? Back with Batman, he stares at the burning house, and Alfred asks, what now? He tells him clearly this is more than just Damian and him, and Nezha has taken his son, and that is his fatal error. He's made me angry. I can't call Superman, because he could become easily possessed, so we're going to have to find Damian to save him ourselves. Alfred says that he's at his side, and Batman begins to walk away. Thank you, old friend. I'm always at my best when you're keeping an eye on me. Of course, Master Bruce. That's what I'm here for. The light casts over Alfred and his shadow changes into the form of Nezha. With Nezha's hold over Damian remaining strong, Batman flies to Lazarus Island to confront his son. But Alfred poses a concerning question. He's quite happy that they found transportation to reach Damian, but how does he suppose that the boy is unaware of the plane? Batman says that Damian is well aware of all of his resources and contingencies. He would have left the plane, and only the plane, on purpose. Damian wants them to come to Lazarus Island, and they can't count on any family for backup. Batwoman, Batsignal, the Batgirls, Damian has done something to leave them all offline. Damian knows that they're coming. But through Alfred's eyes, Mother Soul watches, telling her grandson that Batman is en route. Damian turns to her. Thank you, but my Robins will not go into battle unarmed. To Timothy Drake, I give him the cloak of Caligostro. Jason Todd, the trident of Poseidon. Stephanie Brown, the coupe stick of Black Bison. And Dick Grayson, the most powerful weapon, the sword of sin. Battle stations, everyone! By sunset, Father will be dead! Back on the mainland of the island, Batman lands and tells Alfred to be prepared for anything. If Damian wishes to engage him, he'll try to wear him down. Alfred asks, how do you know? Because that's what I would do, which is why you're staying here. Alfred argues about staying on the plane, but Batman tells him that this is not up for discussion. I cannot focus if I have to worry about two people. Remember what happened when we were caught in the Riddler's labyrinth, Alfred? Can't have that happen again. As Batman leaves for the jungle, Alfred tells him, I suppose not. Go, save your boy, sir, and be careful. As Batman enters the dense forest, he climbs up a tree to scout the foot trail left on the ground. No doubt intended for him to follow. But as he holds his position, he's suddenly struck and knocked off of the branch. A voice tells him, keep your guard up. And it's Tim's voice. But it's too close to be hiding, which means that Tim is invisible. Batman lands a punch, but Tim appears, cracking him with his staff. I was your Robin for years, and I was damn good at it. But the minute that Damian came, you replaced me. Batman falls to the ground, but as he gets up, he knows that Tim is possessed, and he's laying bare his deepest buried grievances. He can't take them personally. Batman yells, "You grew! You didn't need me anymore! You were fine on your own!" At least that's what Batman tells himself. And Tim isn't wrong. Could Batman have done better by Tim? It's startling how heavily that question weighs on Bruce. But first, he needs to disrupt him. As brilliant a combatant as he is, his greatest skill is as a detective, which isn't helping him now. With a quick flick of his wrist, Batman takes off his cloak, throwing it on Tim to reveal where he is, slamming him into the ground. He ties him up and rolls his shoulder, already feeling it wrenched. He has to stay vigilant, even if this is the first trap. Back in the lower caves of the island, Nezha asks a chained pig creature, "Where is he?" And the being laughs. "After all of these centuries, and you've never learned small talk." Nezha smacks him, and Mother Soul asks who. The creature spits a mouthful of blood. "My name is Zubaji. Pigsy to my friends. And yeah, me and Nezha go way back." Has he told you the big secret yet about why he's doing all of this? He's not gearing to play offensively. He's playing defense. Nezha hits him again, demanding to know where is he. And Pigsy says that he could have just asked because he cannot wait to see the look on his face. But he tells him he's already here, on Earth. Your son has finally arrived, and he cannot wait to say hello. Back in the jungle, Batman comes to an opening, but before he can hardly set foot in it, vines reach out, wrapping themselves around him. Using a small pocket laser, Batman cuts himself free, and Stephanie Brown, the spoiler, tells him, "You might want to hang on to that. I'm just getting started." Batman frees himself, and a tree trunk falls over with Stephanie yelling, "You never took me seriously! You always made me feel like a mascot, not a Robin. I was clay in your hands. You could have made me into anything, and you didn't even bother." There's truth in her statement. Batman could have taken the time to train her better, but he didn't. And Stephanie is now a Batgirl under Barbara's watch. As the ground erupts from underneath him, Batman is thrown off the ledge of a cliff, but Stephanie's attacks are weak. She's less of an obstacle than Tim was, which would mean she's not alone. Down on the shoreline, a wave of water shoots up, crashing into Batman. He looks behind, seeing Jason wielding the Trident of Poseidon. "Hey, don't worry, I'll get him." And then he hits Batman with another wave, slamming him into the wall and down to the ground. He walks right over to Bruce. "We're all disposable to you, aren't we? I died and came back, and you still ignored me! Why didn't you look for me?" Batman throws an explosive pellet to gain some distance, but Jason absorbs them in the water, getting closer. "How could you not spend every waking minute trying to save me?" Once Jason is close enough to strike with the trident, Batman gets up, punching him in the stomach, telling himself that he doesn't have to answer. Why didn't he make Jason a priority? Maybe he was afraid of what he'd find, afraid of what he'd have to own up to, a ward that he'd let turn into Joe Chill. Batman wrestles the trident from Jason's hands, hitting him on the side of the head, and then rides the water back up to the cave with Stephanie, where he makes quick work of her. He groans, already feeling himself in pain, but with 3 of the Robins down, only one remains. The first one. Hand to hand, the toughest of them all. Back in the cave, Damian walks up to Pigsy. "I know you." "Yeah, we met. You were much nicer then. And now, magically, you're his puppet. But I do have a question." Damian tells him, "I don't care." "Are you sure? You're kind of sensitive to this stuff. Deep down, there's a part of you pushing against Nezha's control, or else you wouldn't be standing here." After a few moments pass, Damian finally asks, "What is the question?" And Pigsy simply asks, "What do you get out of all of this?" Damian goes on explaining that Mother Soul's goal is to do what Roz wanted to do, but better. Pigsy just turns it on him again. "Right, but what about you?" Damian tries to think, but as he speaks, he begins to stutter. "Yeah, that's what I thought. Kid, Damian, listen. I've known Nezha since we were both young. He used to be a hero, did he not? But all of this Lazarus juice that he used to make himself immortal and pump up his magic, it's corruptive, corrosive." Damian says that he understands. "This corruption, can it be reversed?" At that moment, the fiery green hand of Nezha grabs Damian from behind. "It is not corruption, it is clarity." Using that fire, Nezha burns Pigsy's face to melt his mouth shut. But back over topside, the sun begins to set as Batman reaches a cave, getting out of the brush. Alfred runs out. "Thank God! Master Dick, he's..." Nightwing sits perched a rock, and Batman tells him, "I see him." Quite the dramatic entrance. Haha! You know me, forever the showman, Bruce. With no supplies left, Batman pulls off the utility belt as his only weapon to fight with. Nightwing asks him, "Do you remember that I was in the circus, right? People used to come by the thousands to see the Flying Graysons. Their applause was electric. The rush was unbelievable. Then you came and you took it all away. You hid Dick Grayson behind a mask." Batman thinks for a moment. Nightwing has never said anything like that before. Should he have realized it? And Nightwing yells, "I could still show off as long as nobody knew that it was me. Robin lived so that Dick Grayson could die." They both begin to struggle as Batman thinks back to what Damian said. It was similar, that he could have given any of these kids an ordinary, normal life free of danger. Instead, oh God, what kind of monster am I? I don't deserve to win here. Who am I to fight them, punish them simply for... Wait, that sword. That's Azrael's sword of sin, and manifests guilt and doubts it in the opponent's mind and magnifies it for them. It's been working on me since I arrived. Well played. Nightwing swings again, hitting Batman's arm, telling him, "I'm under orders from Damian that he gets the killing blow, but I have seniority." Nightwing swings again, this time cutting into Batman's chest, and Alfred yells out, "Be careful! He's out of defenses!" Batman looks back, grabbing Alfred by the arm, and as Nightwing swings again, he shoves Alfred in the way as a shield. As the sword plunges into Alfred's stomach, there's a moment that Nightwing takes brief control of his mind, just long enough for Batman to knock him out. Alfred falls over, and he bleeds green. "You knew that you were a spy? I knew within 3 minutes, and you just kept confirming it. It was the small things about how you spoke, like when we had tea. The real Alfred despises oolong tea. And when I mentioned the Riddler's Labyrinth, you didn't deny it, but there never was a Riddler's Labyrinth. You knew enough about Alfred's life to answer all of my questions, but not enough to contradict me when you thought I was telling the truth. I played along as to not alert your master, but now what I want is for you to tell your master that I'm coming. Give him a message, that I'm not leaving without." But the wounds of the day catch up to Batman as he falls to his knees. The demon within Alfred's body escapes laughing and flies away throughout the mountains, and Batman looks back at Alfred, taking off his mask, exhausted, and Alfred speaks. Batman looks at him. It's impossible. That voice, it's softer than before, more gentle, more authentic. "No, this is just another trick. Tell your master!" But Alfred chimes in. "No, Master Bruce, it's me. In a sense, to properly replicate me, Nezha required the tiniest echo of my actual soul, the faintest whisper. He had to crack the door to the afterlife to seize it, and now it's fading. The sword! Oh God, I've killed!" But Alfred pauses him again. "No, you did not. I am nothing more than a shadow. This was never a way to get me back, but I refuse to go until you accept something, Bruce. Damian imagines that I blame him for my death. I do not. He, of course, blames himself, and I will not allow that. You were half a world away. Not even you could have possibly prevented it. This is unnecessary remorse. I can find no peace while watching you carry an unearned burden." Batman stops him. "But," and Alfred interrupts him again, "do you really wish for me to be disquieted for all eternity? Don't cheat me out of agency, or I will be quite cross, Bruce. Nezha exploited a wound in you. I'm asking you to close it so that you can find strength and healing. You'll need it to save Master Damian." Batman holds Alfred close. I miss you, Alfred." And Alfred begins to fade. "We will meet again, my dear boy. Your parents, they send their love." Alfred's body begins to fade into nothing, and Batman takes a deep breath, pulling up the cowl and beginning to bandage himself. Once ready, he stands up, beginning to walk into the mountain cave. As Nezha enters the final stages of obtaining the power from the Lazarus Pits, there's only two things that are on Mother Soul's mind that could stop this: Batman and the mention of Nezha's own son, King Firebull. Mother Soul says that she saw the look on his face when there was a mention of his son. And Nezha says, fearful for him. for the violence that must be done to him should he be foolish enough to confront him. Meanwhile, Batman is quietly sneaking into the caves that lead to the Lazarus Pit when he sees the pile of exhausted magic users just discarded after having been drained of their powers. All but one, Black Alice. Black Alice more so siphons magic into what is quite obviously Dr. Fate's helmet. As Batman moves closer to the helmet, it is positively crackling with power, and a familiar voice asks if this is his idea of a sneak attack, because his footsteps carry. Batman looks up to see Damian, who can see that he is as intense as he has ever been. He has never wanted it to come to this, but all he can do is engage him. Batman looks at the things that Damian is carrying, asking, "You come after an unarmed man with weapons? Is that what I taught you? Cowardice!" Damian throws the weapons to his side, charging in. But Batman already knows Damian is well versed between many fighting techniques from his training with the League of Assassins. Paired with the skills that he taught him, Damian is a fighting force to be reckoned with. But while Damian continues to get in his hits, Nezha and Mother Soul watch from afar. As Dr. Fate's helmet reaches its limits of power, Batman tries to formulate a plan to remove it. But Damian takes the opportunity to strike just as he was distracted, breaking his arm. Mother Soul says that as compelling as that battle can be, she strongly suggests that they focus their attention on the helmet before it overloads with power. Damian continues to beat Batman down, but then suddenly stops when he sees Batman not even fighting back. He leans down, grabbing him by the neck. "Wait, you knew this was a death trap, but Batman never enters a trap without a plan. What is your plan? What is it, old man?" The mistake that Damian made was assuming that this was Batman's first recon through the caves, when it was in fact his second. Just as Nezha gets ready to put on the Dr. Fate helmet, Batman calls out to Talia. Because on Batman's first run-through on the cave, he found Talia held captive, and he freed her, and told her to wait for his signal when he needed her the most. As Talia kicks the helmet out of Nezha's hands, it falls to the ground, bouncing when there is suddenly a flash of light. As everyone looks over again, they see Batman floating there with Dr. Fate's helmet, overflowing with power. The first thing he commands of Nezha is to release his hold on Damian and the others, restoring the power to those that lost it. As Damian regains his senses, he shouts for his father to forgive him, but Batman looks down to his son. "I already have. Now go help Talia while taking down Soul." Batman looks around, seeing through the eyes of the sorcerers in how they see the world. It is so vastly different. Nezha yells out to him, "Congratulations for your unearned acquisition, for all the good it will do you." The two begin their mental combat as Batman grabs Nezha from behind, shouting, "Why bother stopping me? The people of this planet are weaklings, bent on destroying themselves. We could remove their chaos, inspire them, give them a purpose with honor." Nezha then pulls Batman into the magical realm, asking, "What is your purpose, if not to be a follower?" Batman doesn't even hesitate. "Right here, right now, is to be a father that my son needs." Meanwhile, Talia and Damian are cornered by an endless pit, telling Mother Soul to surrender. Talia looks to her son. She won't. She's an Al Ghul. Yet she is oblivious to the truth. She conscripted you to find the demon of the Lazarus Island not once but twice, unaware that it was a wasted effort. For the demon of Lazarus Island is her. The demons must be consigned to the deepest pits of hell. Mother Soul laughs at her. "You won't murder me, not with the boy around. Why would you think that he would allow that?" Talia pushes Mother Soul off the ledge, but Damian reaches down, grabbing her by the arm, telling her to hold on. With a smirk, Mother Soul flicks her wrist to shake off Damian's grip, falling into the darkness. As Mother Soul fades from view, Talia tells Damian that she forbids him to mourn her. But Damian says that he is not a monster. He will feel how he feels. Back with Batman, the battle of magic continues, with each side claiming one hit after the other. But with one of those hits, Nezha lunges for the helmet, and as Batman struggles to keep the helmet, it explodes in a bright green flash. The broken pieces clatter as they fall to the ground and into the pit, and without its power, Batman falls to the ground as well. Nezha stands over him, asking, "How dare you, a mortal, imprisoning me, cheating me, defying me. This is over. As Nezha reaches down, he is struck behind by Damian, wielding one of the magical items he presented to him. Batman yells for his son to get back, but Nezha turns his focus on Damian. Such is the punishment of disloyalty. A blast leaves his fingers, and Batman throws himself in the way to save his son. Talia rushes over to check on Batman, and Damian asks if he's... Talia checks his pulse. He's gone. I'm sorry, son. Nezha laughs. This pain is enough. And Damian shouts at the monster, "You will pay dearly for this!" Just then, there's an explosion of rock as King Fireball bursts in through a wall, continuing Damian's sentence. There will be so much more! King Fireball attacks Nezha. Pigsy and Alice run up with Pigsy grabbing Damian. We have to hurry! There's still a chance that all is not lost! The Lazarus pits are fast becoming exponentially more volatile. They won't resurrect Batman, they'd boil him instead. But there is still Lazarus magic available to us, through Nezha's own veins. Black Alice places her hands on Batman's chest, siphoning out the magic from Nezha himself, putting it into Batman. As Nezha falls to his knees, losing his powers, Damian looks at Batman. It's not working! And suddenly Batman sits up, gasping for air. Talia checks on him, and Pigsy says that they won't have time to see if Batman is actually okay. They need to get out of here. Nezha then begins his own escape, with King Fireball yelling, "No! I will not be denied my vengeance! Not even if the whole world has to suffer!" King Fireball rockets out of the cave, and it damages it enough to start a collapse. Dozens of stones fall into the Lazarus pit, causing it to violently explode, taking out the entire island, as a Lazarus volcano begins to erupt across the world. And there you have it. The storyline is concluded, but it does obviously have us on a cliffhanger. That's because it's jumping to another storyline known as Lazarus Planet, where we're going to see the fallout of Nezha, King Fireball, and the situation that Batman is actually in. So make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you want to see the next story arc as it concludes right here on the Comicstorian channel. And thank you so much for your continued support. I'll see you guys next time, right here.